After my boyfriend cheated on me, I slept with his brother. His brother was handsome and young, and his nickname was Maverick. In the private pool/jacuzzi, I was wearing a bathrobe, sitting close to him. Daniel's beautiful, captivating eyes were fixed on me, as if he wanted to devour me. "Hurry up," I urged. "I wasn't here to flirt with you." He tugged at the corner of his mouth, letting out a soft laugh. "Natasha, are you in a hurry?" Jackson and I had been together for 7 years, and we were planning to get married next month. I trusted him completely, never checking his phone or his business trip itineraries. My trust was repaid by his affair with my best friend, Luna. Maybe she heard we were getting married soon. Luna couldn't hold back any longer. She deliberately dropped hints to let me know my boyfriend was cheating. That's when I discovered they had been seeing each other secretly for a whole year. I felt utterly ridiculous. Thinking back now to group outings, Luna's meaningful glances were clearly looks of someone watching a fool. I always thought Jackson didn't have strong feelings for me, but now it seems he just didn't have the energy to spend on me. When I saw the intimate moments between them on the dashcam footage, I threw up. Even so, I didn't confront Jackson. I didn't want those two jerks to get what they wanted. Since Luna liked being a mistress, I'd let her have her fill of it. Going home that night, I stopped to buy a few drinks. Tipsy, an idea suddenly popped into my head. Breaking up was too easy on Jackson. If he could cheat, why couldn't I? He cheated with my best friend, so I'd go for his brother. Let's see who's more disgusting. The first person who came to mind was Daniel. He was Jackson's junior from school. They met playing sports. He was always quiet at gatherings. I thought he seemed really aloof. And it seemed like he was the only one there who was actually good-looking. After downing a drink, I mustered the courage to open my phone and ask him if he was asleep. No reply. Was my hint not clear enough? I asked him if he wanted to go out for drinks, but he still didn't reply. No matter what message I sent, he didn't reply. I started to calm down a bit, preparing to send one last message. If he still didn't reply, then that was it. I'd find another way to get revenge on that jerk Jackson. "I want to invite you to use the private pool/jacuzzi on Saturday. Are you free? If not, no worries." He replied instantly with 2 words, location. I knew men were all like this. Jackson asked me to hang out that weekend, but I used the excuse of working overtime at the office and got ready to go out. I booked a room with a private pool/jacuzzi in the courtyard. That evening, I got into the pool/jacuzzi first, wearing my bathrobe. While waiting for Daniel, I went from being nervous to wanting to give up. Just as I was about to get out, my phone rang. Daniel had only sent 2 words, "Wait for me." I sat back down. I'd wait another half hour. If he didn't come by then, I'd leave. I wanted revenge on Jackson, but I didn't want to become a loose woman. I closed my eyes, leaning against the edge of the pool. Suddenly, the water stirred. Daniel, dressed in a white shirt and black pants, just walked right in. He smiled, revealing a slight snaggletooth, especially when he called me my dear repeatedly. Sorry, got held up a bit. It's okay. I felt my cheeks flushing, unsure how to face him, so I made small talk. "Why didn't you change into a bathrobe?" "Afraid you were waiting too anxiously." He didn't say anything else, sitting across from me, his mesmerizing, captivating eyes staring straight at me. Only then did I realize that when Daniel stared at someone, his eyes seemed filled with deep affection. "You invited me to use the private pool/jacuzzi just to chat in the pool?" Looking into his eyes, I swallowed, then slowly stood up and walked towards him. Daniel didn't push me away, and I breathed a sigh of relief. If he wanted to reject me, he wouldn't have shown up tonight. I could distinctly feel the rising heat around us. I was starting to get scared. Daniel's long, pale fingers casually traced my leg, like he was exploring a toy. It tickled a little. I couldn't help but urge, "Hurry up." I wasn't used to this kind of touch. His eyes narrowed. "I know you're in a hurry." Daniel put his arm around my waist. "Like this." "Stop." I tilted my head back, trying to avoid him. "My dear, your face is red." "The pool is too hot," I explained. He smiled without a word, his white shirt soaked, the outline of his abs faintly visible. I put my hand on his arm, stopping his movement. "Not here." His lips were about to touch mine. "You're so sweet." He suddenly stopped, his gaze focused on me. Are you planning to break up with Jackson? No plans for that. Not yet, anyway. I wasn't going to let those two jerks get away scot-free. For some reason, after I said that, the temperature around us seemed to drop a few degrees. Daniel withdrew his hand, creating distance between us. Then what is this supposed to be? Do you want me to be your lover? Daniel seemed a little hurt. I didn't know how to explain, my mind felt fuzzy. What did Daniel mean? Did he mean he wanted to take my boyfriend's place? I shook my head. Impossible. Daniel and I barely had any interaction, we'd hardly spoken. If he wasn't Jackson's friend, we wouldn't even know each other. I guessed he didn't want to get involved in his brother's relationship. He must have thought I was going to break up with Jackson. That's why he came tonight. I didn't mean for you to be a homewrecker. Forget it. I don't know how to explain. If you don't want to continue, then let's just forget tonight happened. I'm sorry I wasted your time. I pulled my bathrobe tighter, deciding to end this absurd revenge attempt. I got up to leave. But Daniel also stood up from the pool/jacuzzi and wrapped his arms around me from behind. His voice held a hint of vulnerability. Don't go. I won't ask anymore. Daniel led me back to the room, and that's when I realized he was. Relax. I am relaxed. Are you? I instinctively tried to push him away. It's too late to regret now. When his kiss descended, I turned my head away. People having a one-night stand shouldn't kiss, it feels weird. I couldn't see his expression. The next second, I heard him whisper hoarsely in my ear, "Just enjoy yourself." I clapped a hand over Daniel's mouth and glared at him fiercely. Shut up. He smiled, kissed the palm of my hand, and then the night truly began. Jackson was never this dominant because he knew I didn't like assertive men. Due to my stepfather's abuse when I was younger, I was always wary and guarded around men. Jackson pursued me for 3 years before I agreed to date him. He always respected me. Whether it was our first time holding hands or our first kiss, if I showed even the slightest hint of resistance, he would stop. He gave me a lot of time to accept him. I had sometimes thought he might cheat one day because I was too boring, but he stayed by my side for 7 years. Just when I finally fully trusted him and accepted his proposal, I discovered he had cheated. Even if he had cheated with someone else, I wouldn't feel this disgusted. Why did it have to be my best friend? Now, when he finds out I cheated with his brother at the same time, he'll know how disgusting this feels. I wanted him to truly experience the pain I was feeling now. Suddenly, my phone rang. I pushed Daniel away forcefully. Wait, I have a call. Seeing it was Jackson calling, I didn't want to answer. I thought I'd call him back after we finished, just make up some excuse about being in the shower. But then, Daniel suddenly reached out and answered my phone call. As I watched in shock, he smirked at me, looking triumphant. I quickly covered my mouth. Hello? What's that sound? What are you doing? Why aren't you saying anything? I looked at Daniel, wanting him to hang up the phone. His eyes were filled with a predatory look. He whispered, "Beg me." That night, I lost myself in Daniel's embrace. His tenderness and dominance intertwined, making me feel both strange and familiar. Each touch of his felt like an exploration of unknown territory, and I, in this exploration, gradually lost my way. The next morning, when I woke up, sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, casting a golden hue over the entire room. Daniel was no longer beside me, only a note remained. Let's treat last night as a dream. I looked at the words, a complex emotion swelling in my heart. I had initially thought that everything last night was just the beginning of revenge, but I didn't expect it to stir up such a huge wave in my heart. I started to develop feelings for Daniel that I couldn't ignore. I spent the next few days in turmoil. During the day, I tried to live as usual, seeing friends, handling matters at the office. However, whenever night fell, my thoughts would inevitably drift to Daniel. His smile, his eyes, his every movement, they replayed in my mind repeatedly. Meanwhile, Jackson seemed completely unaware of the turmoil within me. He still called me every day, asking about my recent life and planning our future. Listening to his voice, my heart felt empty. I began to doubt if I truly still loved him. Until one day, while organizing my clothes, I found a photo of Jackson and Luna together. In the photo, they were smiling so intimately, as if the whole world belonged only to them. My hands began to tremble, and the anger in my heart ignited again. I decided it was time to take the next step. I contacted Daniel again. This time, there was no hesitation or retreat. I told him directly that I needed his help. Daniel replied quickly, his tone carrying a hint of playful teasing and anticipation. We agreed to meet at a secluded restaurant. The restaurant was tastefully decorated, soft lighting spilling onto the tables, creating a romantic and private atmosphere. Daniel arrived early. He sat at a window seat, and when he saw me enter, he smiled and stood up. His smile was still charming, but it made me feel a touch uneasy. "Are you really sure about this?" he asked directly, without any small talk. I nodded, my gaze steady. "I need you to be my lover." My voice was calm and firm, though deep down, my heart was pounding violently. A flicker of surprise crossed Daniel's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. "Do you know what this means?" he asked softly, his voice tinged with a magnetic quality. "It means Jackson will become a laughingstock, and Luna will pay for what she did." I replied, my voice carrying a hint of coldness. Daniel gazed at me, as if trying to see through me. After a long moment, he spoke slowly. "If you're just looking for revenge, I advise you to think twice. Once you step into this kind of relationship, you won't be able to get out." I knew the warning in his words, but I couldn't turn back. I took a deep breath and said, "I've made up my mind." Daniel's pupils contracted slightly. He reached out and gently took my hand. "Then, my dear, are you ready to face the storm?" His voice was low and magnetic, sending a shiver down my spine. Just then, the restaurant door was violently pushed open, and an angry voice interrupted our conversation. "What are you two doing?" We both turned our heads. Jackson stood in the doorway, his face contorted with rage, his eyes filled with shock and hurt. The air in the restaurant instantly froze. All eyes were on us, whispers rising like a tide. I looked at Jackson in the doorway, his eyes full of anger and disappointment, while my heart pounded wildly. "Jackson, it's not what you think." I tried to explain, but my voice trembled, betraying my inner panic. Daniel squeezed my hand tightly, a warning flashing in his eyes, as if reminding me not to say the wrong thing. "Not what I think?" Jackson sneered, stepping into the restaurant, each step heavy on the floor, as if stomping his anger into the ground. "What are you two doing behind my back? You think I don't know what's going on?" His voice grew louder, drawing the attention of everyone around. My face felt hot, knowing we were the center of attention. Daniel let go of my hand, stood up, and stood in front of me, his posture calm and confident. "Jackson, this doesn't concern you." His voice was low and firm, carrying an undeniable authority. "Doesn't concern me? Huh." Jackson's laugh was laced with sarcasm. "You two are my family, my brother and my girlfriend. How does this not concern me?" Daniel's gaze was as sharp as a blade, staring directly into Jackson's eyes. "Listen, Jackson, I've tolerated you for a long time. What right do you have to come here yelling? When you were sleeping with that bitch Luna behind her back, why didn't you think about this?" The air in the restaurant seemed to freeze. Jackson's face instantly went pale. He seemed struck by the sudden accusation, his body swaying slightly. The surrounding noise completely stopped, all eyes fixed on the three of us. "What did you say?" Jackson's voice was low and dangerous, each word squeezed out from between his teeth. "You thought I didn't know?" Daniel sneered, his eyes full of contempt. "You thought you hid it well? The affair between you and that whore Luna is practically common knowledge in our social circle. Only you, the fool, were oblivious." Jackson's face changed from light to dark. His eyes darted back and forth between Daniel and me. His knuckles were white from clenching his fists, clearly trying to suppress his rage. "Jackson, don't." I tried to de-escalate the situation, but my voice sounded weak even to myself. "Don't?" Jackson's voice suddenly rose, a hint of desperation flashing in his eyes. "You two are having an affair behind my back, and you tell me don't?" His voice began to tremble, a flicker of pain in his eyes, and my heart clenched. I knew that at this moment he was no longer the man in control, but an ordinary person betrayed. "Tell me this isn't true, Natasha." His eyes turned to me, full of pleading and hope. I looked into his eyes, but I couldn't say anything comforting. Because I couldn't lie, especially not now. Finally, I slowly shook my head. Jackson's face instantly turned ashen, his eyes losing focus, as if a building had lost its support and was beginning to collapse. "So this is why you've been distant lately," he murmured, his voice tinged with bitterness and helplessness. I nodded, a wave of guilt washing over me. But I knew the lies had piled up too high. I could only keep going. "You bastard!" Jackson suddenly erupted in rage, his fists clenched, swinging at Daniel. But Daniel was ready. He dodged agilely, grabbing Jackson's wrist and twisting it hard, making him cry out and drop to his knees. "You think that will solve anything?" Daniel's voice carried a hint of mockery. "You think your fists can fix this?" Jackson's breathing was rapid and unsteady, his eyes filled with anger and despair. The diners around us began to stir, some cheering loudly, others recording the moment with their phones. "Enough!" I finally burst out, my voice echoing through the restaurant, trembling slightly but full of determination. "Jackson, it's over. Our 7 years together, you destroyed it with your own hands." He looked up, his eyes filled with confusion and pain. "Natasha, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to give up everything for us. Please, don't leave me." I looked into his eyes, a pang of sorrow in my heart. But I knew some things, once broken, could never be fixed. "It's too late, Jackson," I said softly, my voice filled with helplessness. "You've lost me." At that moment, tears finally streamed down Jackson's face. His body trembled slightly, as if he was struggling to hold back his inner pain. Daniel took the opportunity to guide me out of the restaurant, leaving Jackson to face the chaotic scene alone. Leaving the restaurant, Daniel and I quickly made our way back to my small apartment. We didn't speak at all on the way, but I knew that our relationship had changed irreversibly. Upon entering the apartment, I went straight to the sofa and collapsed onto it, feeling an unprecedented exhaustion. Daniel went to the kitchen and poured me a glass of water. As he handed it to me, his eyes held a touch of concern. "Are you okay?" I took the water and nodded softly. "I'm just tired." He was silent for a moment, then sat on the chair next to me. "Natasha, I know this is hard for you, but you have to understand. Some decisions, once made, there's no turning back." His voice was low and gentle, carrying a hint of subtle sadness. I looked up at him. His eyes held a deep emotion that made me feel a flutter of panic. I knew I was stepping into unknown territory, and Daniel was the guide in this domain. "What do we do now?" My voice trembled slightly. Daniel held my hand. His palm was warm and firm, offering a sense of comfort. "We'll face this together. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side." His promise was like a ray of light in the darkness, showing me a glimmer of hope. I nodded, feeling a newfound sense of trust. That night, I found myself in Daniel's embrace again. This time, there was no anger, no revenge, just two wounded souls finding solace in each other's comfort. I knew this was just the beginning, a new chapter filled with the unknown and challenges. In the following days, my life was completely disrupted. Jackson didn't give up as easily as I had expected. He started calling and texting me frequently, even waiting outside my workplace, trying to talk to me. And each time, I didn't hesitate to refuse him. Meanwhile, my relationship with Daniel developed rapidly. We started seeing each other often, eating out, watching movies, even cooking together. I found Daniel to be completely different from Jackson. He was more understanding of how to care for someone, more skilled at listening to my heart. And I gradually found my feelings for him growing. However, this relationship didn't come without a price. In his despair, Jackson found Luna, and they teamed up to gather evidence against Daniel and me, trying to expose our relationship to the public. I started receiving anonymous messages, warning me not to continue seeing Daniel, or there would be unpleasant consequences. One evening, I came home to find my door ajar. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly pulled out my phone to call Daniel. Before I could dial, the door was suddenly pushed open, and Jackson stormed in, furious. "Where do you think you can run off to?" His eyes were filled with anger and despair. "Jackson, calm down," I tried to appease him, but he had lost control of his emotions. "Calm down? How can I calm down?" he roared, charging towards me. I stumbled back in fright, hitting the wall behind me. Just as Jackson was about to grab me, Daniel rushed in. He quickly blocked me, confronting Jackson. "Enough, Jackson." Daniel's voice was low and powerful, carrying an undeniable authority. "You think you can protect her?" Jackson's voice held a hint of mockery. You think you can escape my grasp? Daniel sneered, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Jackson, you've already lost her. Don't do anything foolish. Jackson's gaze darted between us, a flicker of madness in his eyes. Neither of you will have a good ending, he roared, then turned and rushed out of the apartment. I collapsed onto the floor, filled with fear and unease. Daniel came over and held me tightly. Don't be scared. I'll protect you. His voice whispered in my ear like a warm vow. I knew the storm had just begun. Our feelings for each other were like a candle flickering in a hurricane, ready to be extinguished at any moment. But I was willing to stand by Daniel, and no matter what the future held, I wouldn't back down. As time went on, my relationship with Daniel gradually stabilized. We started planning a future together, even discussing the possibility of marriage. However, the happy days didn't last long. One day, I received an anonymous email at the office. It contained a photo and a letter. In the photo, Daniel was standing intimately with an unfamiliar woman, and the letter said, "Do you think you can have his true heart? Daniel's heart will always belong to someone else." My heart sank instantly. I began to doubt if I truly knew Daniel. I tried to talk to him about it, but he always avoided the subject. A rift formed in our relationship, and arguments became frequent. Meanwhile, Jackson seemed to have found a new opening. He started appearing in my life frequently, trying to persuade me to come back. There was a hint of genuine remorse in his eyes, leaving me confused and wavering. "Natasha, I'm truly sorry," he said during a chance encounter, his eyes full of guilt. "I'm willing to give up everything, just for a chance to start over." My heart was touched by his sincerity, but I knew some things, once broken, could never be restored. I tried to refuse him, but the inner struggle prevented me from being completely resolute. One evening, while working late at the office, I suddenly received a call from Daniel. His voice was urgent. "I need to talk to you now." I rushed to the agreed location, only to find him standing with the unfamiliar woman. There was a hint of helplessness in his eyes, while the woman's face was full of anger. "Is this your new lover?" My voice trembled slightly. Daniel tried to explain, "This is a misunderstanding. She's my ex. We've broken up." "Really?" I sneered, turning to the woman. "You think you can have him like this? You women, you're all the same." The woman was furious. She yelled at me, "You're the other woman. Daniel is my fiancé. We're getting married next month." My heart felt like it was being brutally torn apart at that moment. I looked at Daniel. His eyes were full of guilt and helplessness, but it couldn't change the fact. "Natasha, He tried to speak, but I turned and fled the scene. I felt like my whole world was collapsing. Daniel's betrayal plunged me back into despair, and this time, I didn't even know how to cope. After experiencing 2 betrayals, I fell into deep self-doubt. I started reflecting on my actions and choices, trying to find the root cause of all this. I realized I had always been trying to fill the emptiness inside through others, neglecting my true needs. One day, on a friend's suggestion, I went for psychological counseling. Guided by the therapist, I gradually came to understand that only by learning to love myself could I truly find happiness. Meanwhile, Jackson was also trying to change himself. He started appearing in my life frequently, proving his sincerity through his actions. His persistence and effort showed me a new side of him and also made me start re-examining our relationship. "Natasha, I truly love you," he said during one date, his eyes full of sincerity. "I don't ask for your forgiveness, I just hope you can give me a chance to start over." My heart was moved by his sincerity, but I knew the pain of the past couldn't heal overnight. I decided to give him a chance, and also give myself a chance to start anew. We began to slowly rebuild trust, getting to know each other again. And in this process, I learned how to love myself better, how to maintain independence and self-respect in love. Ultimately, we decided to start a relationship again, but this time, we weren't blindly pursuing passion. Instead, we focused more on mutual understanding and support. We also learned the meaning of growth and redemption from this experience. After getting back together with Jackson, I gradually found inner peace. However, the pain of the past hadn't fully healed. I realized I still couldn't let go of Luna's betrayal. She had been my closest friend, yet she betrayed me with the man I loved at the most important moment of my life. One day, while organizing old things, I stumbled upon a photo of Luna and Jackson together. On the back of the photo was a line, "Our secret should never be discovered." This line was like a sharp blade, piercing my heart again. I felt a fire of revenge burning within me. I decided I couldn't let Luna get away with it easily. She had to pay for her actions. I started secretly investigating Luna's life and discovered she was recently dating a wealthy businessman who was very fond of her. I realized this was a weakness I could exploit. I hired a private investigator to collect evidence of improper transactions between Luna and the businessman. At the same time, I contacted Luna through social media, pretending to reconcile with her. Luna was completely unsuspecting and gladly accepted my invitation for coffee. At the coffee shop, my conversation with Luna was filled with fake friendliness. We talked about the good old days and also about Jackson. A hint of awkwardness flashed in Luna's eyes, but she quickly hid it. "Natasha, I know you were hurt, but there really wasn't anything serious between me and Jackson," she said, her voice slightly hesitant. I smirked inwardly but kept smiling. "Luna, I forgive you. We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them." Her expression visibly relaxed. "Thank you, Natasha. I've always hoped we could be friends." Of course, I nodded gently, my mind plotting how to push her into the abyss. After weeks of careful planning, I finally obtained evidence of the improper transactions between Luna and the businessman. This was an illegal operation involving a huge amount of money, enough to ruin her reputation and future. I decided that at the right moment, I would make this evidence public. One day, I invited Luna to a social party. The businessman was also there. I deliberately chatted enthusiastically with Luna, drawing the businessman's attention. When he walked over to us, I feigned surprise and asked, "Aren't you two discussing a new project?" Luna's face instantly turned pale. She tried to stop me from continuing, but it was too late. A flicker of suspicion appeared in the businessman's eyes. "What project?" He turned to Luna, his voice cold. Luna shook her head frantically. "No project, Natasha. Don't talk nonsense." I put on an innocent expression. "I was just asking casually. Luna mentioned it to me yesterday." The businessman's eyes turned sharp. He turned to Luna. "Let's talk." With that, he pulled Luna away from the party. A few days later, the media suddenly exposed the illegal transactions between Luna and the businessman. Luna's reputation plummeted, and she became a pariah in the public eye. As for me, I gained sympathy as the innocent victim. However, the fire of revenge didn't die out. I realized that true revenge wasn't just about taking everything from her, but making her feel the inner pain. I started posting cryptic content on social media, hinting at Luna's hypocrisy and greed. This plunged her into a deeper vortex of public opinion. Luna's life completely collapsed under my meticulously planned revenge. She lost the businessman's support and her status in the social circle. Her business failed, and she even faced legal repercussions. Yet, I didn't feel satisfied. Instead, a sense of emptiness and guilt began to spread. I realized that revenge couldn't fill the pain in my heart. It only made me feel more alone. Meanwhile, Jackson noticed my changes. He started asking me frequently about Luna and my recent whereabouts. I tried to hide it, but a hint of suspicion showed in his eyes. One evening, Jackson suddenly showed up at my apartment. He held a newspaper in his hand, featuring the report on the Luna incident. His eyes were filled with anger and disappointment. "Natasha, why would you do this?" His voice was low and firm. My heart jumped. I tried to deny it. "Jackson, I don't know what you're talking about." He sneered and threw the newspaper down in front of me. "You think I don't know? You ruined her life for revenge on Luna. But do you know? That's nothing to be proud of." My heart sank heavily. I looked at him, trying to explain. "She betrayed me. She betrayed me with you." A flicker of pain crossed Jackson's eyes. "I know I was wrong, and I've paid the price for my mistakes. But you can't let hatred blind you." His voice gradually softened. "Natasha, revenge won't make you happy. I've seen the changes in you lately. You're not happy." Tears welled up in my eyes. I finally realized he was right. Revenge had trapped me in deeper loneliness, and what I had lost couldn't be compensated for by revenge. Inspired by Jackson, I began to re-examine my actions and my inner self. I realized that true liberation wasn't about making others pay, but learning to let go of hatred, to forgive others, and to forgive myself. I decided it was time to end this revenge. I contacted the media and publicly admitted my mistakes in the Luna incident and offered her a public apology. Although this couldn't completely make up for the harm I had caused, I hoped to take responsibility for my actions. At the same time, I confessed everything to Jackson. I admitted my revenge plan and the struggle and pain within me. Jackson didn't blame me. Instead, he held me tightly. "We'll get through this shadow together." His voice was firm,